Hi everybody, it's me again, Charles Norman, Sports Solutions LLC. We are the creators of AthleticSOS. So I want you guys to watch this one all the way through. At the end, I am going to give you your Christmas gift. I hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving. And I had a fantastic Thanksgiving. This has been one of the best ones we've had. We actually stayed home this year. People came to visit us. This is one of the few times it wasn't just my kids and my grandkid coming to visit. Other people came, and I had just a delightful time kind of hosting. My wife really showed off. She made all this stuff from scratch like it was 1950s or something, but she really did a fantastic job. All the food was great. Everybody had a great time. But I had some great conversations that day, and on Friday, a lot of the people I get to hang around with now because I have the software they keep working. So on Friday morning, we all went and had breakfast out, beautiful area out in Newport Beach. I really enjoyed it, and we just had conversation about youth sports, where it's going, what we can do together. Like I said, we have AthleticSOS, so it's a part of the conversation now. And I think that the story that I'm telling and what we're trying to accomplish is starting to resonate with some people that are really trying to make a difference. What I want to kind of do on this one is I want to talk about, because I keep getting questions from parents when I go and do talks. I've been doing talks with younger groups. I've been doing the junior high, the high school groups. So I've been going out. I'm giving the software away. But remember, I told you guys a while ago, the AthleticSOS is perfect for the high school athlete. It just is the best of what it does. And so I'm going to give you guys that access to that at the end of this in a special form. So stay tuned with me that way. But what we're trying to do is move towards from 5 years old all the way up to 17. We're trying to expand what we're doing. I've made some partnerships, but I've held on to AthleticSOS because I want to build it into something more than what everyone that wants to invest or take it over or buy it from me. What they want to do is commercialize it in a way, and I want to commercialize it too, don't get me wrong, but I want to do it in a way where it's helping everyone. And I'm trying to create this group of business people, and I'm going to talk about that more at the end of December. How do you start a business for your family? And so that's kind of where I am. So I'm holding on to it, but I'm making some fantastic partnerships with some really great people. So in this one, I want to talk about some of the questions I got from those three groups that I'm talking to, right? I've got the young kids, I've got the middle school kids, and I've got high school kids. Because I've got parents that come up to me and say, hey, my kid's 7 years old, and they basically cry on the way to the game. They don't want to go. They don't want to go to practice. I know it's important for them to do something athletically. I need to keep them moving and keep them involved with other people, but they don't want to be there. So what do I do there? And then I've got the middle school kid who just isn't getting, they didn't make that jump. They were really good early on, but that jump to the next level, they're not keeping up. What do we do there? And then I got the kid that's in high school that's in a little bit of trouble because they made the Frost-Soft team. They're on JV, and now it's coming time they need to get to varsity, right? They're going to their junior year. They want to make varsity. How do we guarantee that? And so that's what we're going to talk about. How do you guarantee success for youth sports? And the way I want to talk about this is, I'm going to go forward. So when I was in the 7th grade myself, and give me time for this, people. When I was in the 7th grade, I had to do a report on a poem by Robert Frost. It's called "The Road Not Taken." And so I had to do this report, and I got like a C on it, right? Because you had to talk in front of the class. It wasn't a report, a book report. It was, you have to come read it and tell people what it meant to you. It was just more to get you speaking out in front of the class than it was about the poem. Now, a few years later, as I was going from the 9th to the 10th grade, in my 9th grade year, I had to write a full report, and I had to pick a poem, and I picked that poem because I already knew it, right? So I picked that poem, but this time I was in a transition in my life. I was going from my mom who had remarried, I was going to live with my dad. And so this means I'm already in high school, but I am going to move over to a whole nother life. I'm not going to be going to the same school. All this stuff is about to happen, and I'm kind of spiraling out a little bit. You know, my life was pretty set up, but the idea, and I had no choice in whether or not I was going or not. Nobody asked me what I thought about it. It's just that everybody felt like this was best for me. And so I had to do that poem again. But now I read the poem and I had a whole completely different meaning. Originally, the poem was, hey, take the road less traveled, because in fact, I thought that was the name of the poem when I went to go look for it again, going into from the 9th to 10th grade. I went looking for The Road Less Traveled by Robert Frost, but it's really The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. And so as I read through it, originally it was there's two roads diverging, and they took the one less traveled, right? They took a chance. They went out on their own, and they were going to pay the new path instead of going where everybody else goes. So for 7th through 9th, really 10th grade, that's what I believed. I believed as I was moving through life, I sort of took that as, hey, I'm the rebel. I'm going to take this path less traveled. Not that I caused any problems or anything like that, but it was just in my head, don't be normal. Don't be like everybody else. Don't be average. But when I read it again in the 9th grade, because of what I was going through, and I went stanza by stanza because I had to write a report on it, it was the completely opposite. And if you go and read that poem, and I recommend everybody go and read that poem, because really what it was talking about was both the roads were exactly the same. They looked down the first road until it bent, and then they took the other one. For no good reason. It wasn't less traveled. It wasn't, they were exactly the same road. It's just what the poem was really about was that at the end, the story you tell later will take whatever path you took, and you will tell the story the way you want to tell it. So you're going to make the importance of every decision you make based on how the outcome came many, many, many years later. You'll tell the story of why you were successful, you were not successful, why this happened to you, why that happened to you, because you're going to write that story later on. And so if you read through the whole point, and then that's why people think it's the road less traveled, because there's a line in there that that kind of indicates that, but that's not what it meant. But anyway, so I wanted to give that because this is how I'm going to answer that question, because I am going to give you some ideas that I have for how to sort of guarantee that you have success. So let's label success. I don't want to do that weird success thing where what do you mean by success? So let's say your kids between 5 and 8, and they start off in a sport and they're good at it. A couple of sports they're good at. And I mean, they're good enough to where they start at 5 and by 7, 8, they're being moved over to a travel club type situation, that they pretty much have something about them. They get over to that travel club program and they even outgrow that. They make the all-star game. They're great at this particular sport, whatever the sport is. And maybe you have some background on it. Maybe you have no background and your kid just takes to it. So your kid moves up, they're an all-star there, they go to the next level of travel club. And now they're moving around in different areas and they're playing against really, really good players. They've got this great coaching, this great training, and they blossom there. They get to junior high school. In junior high school, they have a little team with the junior high school. They're still playing this high-level club, and you could just see the difference on the campus. The way they move through the campus, people recognize them. Hey, that's the kid that does X, Y, Z. They've maybe got their name in the paper a little bit, or something. They've got trophies all over the house. Everything's going really well for them. They get to high school. At high school, they don't even play frost soft. They go straight to junior varsity or varsity, right? They're that kid. And at some point, they're going to get an opportunity to make the choice of whether or not they're going to play at the collegiate level. So if we were just doing youth sports, that seems like a pretty successful youth sports career, if I'm putting that right. Now, all the little things that happen as you go through all of that, people don't see. But if that's the story you're telling at the end, it's because of every little choice you made was the right choice. But that's not how it actually works. And I'm proof of that. I got into this because of my daughter. I didn't know what to do. I probably made every bad choice you can make for the most part. And it all turned out fine. But every choice that I made was, as we move forward, I didn't worry about it. And kind of because of that poem in the 9th grade and what happened when I went to go stay with my dad, because those became some of the most important years of my life. I don't know what happens if I don't go stay, but I know what happened when I did go. My whole thought process changed. And my mom did a great job. My mom's a great person. And I'm glad I grew up that way because I was able to combine both worlds. But my dad was a community guy. So he, we were in South LA, and he had a youth gang services thing, and he had a youth center, and I met some very interesting characters, let me put it that way. But I'm coming from my mom's world, which is very calm, very serene, very matter of fact, to go to this world where I just have to make it. And so I learned from my dad what it meant to be a man, I guess is the best way to put it. And so I'm combining both of those things to make me into who I am. But if I don't go there, I don't know what happens, but I can tell my story now, and I do all the time. I go, hey, those were some of the most important years of my life, going to live with my dad, how I approach life, how I move. But I'm telling the story later, right? Because what if everything goes wrong? What if I go over there and I get into some gangs or some drugs or something goes wrong? Then I'm telling the story completely opposite. So the choices you make as you move through this thing really don't matter that much. You want to make the best choices possible, but you want to get where you want to get to. So let me give you some practical things that I would tell you guys that I found as I started going through this youth sports world after my daughter and what I went through with her. But since then, since I've done the software, because there was about a 5-6 year gap since she finished and went on to college till I started actually doing AthleticSOS. Here's a couple of things I think you guys have to get right. You're trying to find a sport that your kid just kind of naturally vibes with. It's just kind of who they are, the way they move, the way they think. And so don't overthink that either, because they will find their sport if you give them enough time to try different things. And you don't have to force it. Right? Some kids are really athletic. Some kids are more cerebral about how they do things, or they're more loners. Whatever it is, try a different variety of them, but you don't have to push them on, right? If you're going to do, soccer, baseball, basketball, football, volleyball, those kind of sports, there's team sports anyway. They're always available. If your kid takes to one or they're okay with it, then go ahead and look into those and see if you can get it. But if it's an individual sport, just go play. Go do archery. Take some golf lessons as a family, as a group. Say you want to learn, hey, you want to come learn with me, and just make it that kind of situation just to see if it vibes with them. Now, let's say your kid is playing sports. I think the other thing that's seriously important for them is to sort of play pickup on their own. They're going to have to develop their own style. One of the big problems they're having right now is this clonification of kids playing. It doesn't matter what the sport. There's this is the technique. This is the way we do it. Do it again, do it again, do it again. If you get a trainer like that, move. Your kid should be figuring out the best way. They should figure out how to do something and then go play by themselves, or go play pickup, or just street, or just basic, just having fun with it, and then figure out their own game. They've got to add their own sauce to whatever they're doing. They cannot be clones. That's what we're running into right now, especially here in America. Now you've got people, and I want to say this for the high school people, you're not only just competing against the kids, your peers, right? Your high school friends at the highest level all across the country. When you're trying to get an athletic scholarship, you're also competing against kids that went to a JC, kids that went to prep school, kids that are in the transfer portal. You're also kids from overseas. Huge thing right now, because they're playing a different way. You can watch that really big in basketball right now. You see a lot of the European players are becoming the best players in the NBA. And what's happening is that they played a different way, but they're becoming clones. If you really look at them, they're all playing the same way too, right? Started back, I think, with like Ginobili and those people, that Euro step and all that kind of stuff. They all kind of play the same kind of way of just free, any positionless basketball, right? They can all do everything. And so our kids at the time were learning position. You're a guard, you're a center, you're a forward, you're a shooting guard, you're a slasher, you're this, you're that. So, but we came out of that now. And now if you look at the American players, they're clones. They can all do everything because they tried to copy what the European people were doing. But it's going to change again. And so what you want to do is have some individuality about your game. How do it play? How do you see? Now, here's something else. I don't just look at things from a sports. How do you become an expert in anything? It is pattern recognition. You do something enough times, you will develop patterns. You'll see things that other people don't see. That's why I think pickup is so good, because things are happening without any instruction. And so you start to pick up patterns because you see things over and over and over again. And when kids play pickup, when they're playing on the playground at school, when they're with their friends at the park, things like that, there's nobody around telling them what to do. They're going to play again and again and again. And those pattern pickups come. And so now they're making decisions based on the patterns. And then as you play on travel club, or if you play for a school or something like that, then that structure makes a lot of sense, because if someone's trying to stop you from playing or scoring or whatever you're trying to do, then you need to have some structure on what you're trying to accomplish and how you guys are going to do it, because you may be working as a unit. But it's very important. And even if you're playing a individual game, you're playing golf, you're playing tennis, you're doing archery, you're doing something like that, that is still you have to develop your own sense of game, how you're going to approach it, what your confidence level is in how you do things, because that's where you're going to be the best. I've said this over and over and over again when I do these videos. Your kid has to be the best version of themselves at their sport to go as far as they could possibly go. If they want to go as far as they can possibly go in their sport, whether it's collegiate, whether it's professional, whether it's just a high school playing, making varsity, they have to be the best version of them at that sport. That is the secret sauce here. And so as a parent, the decisions you make aren't going to be life and death. Just make the best decisions you make. So I talk a lot about making sure that you're playing against the better players. If your kid is on a team and they're playing and they're the best person out there, they got to move. They got to go to the next level. There has to be a little bit of uncomfortability there and push them. Otherwise, they can't grow into the player that's going to get to the next level. They have to keep moving and get some uncomfortability because they're going to have to build on top of that. Here's the other thing that you could do. If you can get your kids to play the game in their head the night before a game and then try to duplicate that. So when they're playing the game, they go to sleep at night, they're going to play that whole game. That's how they're going to fall asleep. But they're going to have success. Whatever they're doing when they're thinking, they're not worried about how great the other player was or how the team, and they're nervous and got anxiety. You play the game in your head and you win, and you watch yourself make the moves, do the things that you're going to do to make you win. And when you play the game the next day, play that game, right? So things are going to change during the game. I get it. But that imagination, that is going to be the ability to dream, daydream, and see vividly what the game is going to look like, what it's going to feel like. That's repetition. That is them developing their game. And then the other way you want to do this kind of thing is that you want them to put something on there that nobody's ever seen, that they're going to put their mark on the game. So put this in their head. Go, hey, show me something nobody else has ever done, or you've been trying to work on, or you've been thinking about. Give me something new, something different. And let them have that in their head too on how that's going to look. And so now you don't have to be so worried. As you make your decisions, you'll know when to pivot. Did you get on the wrong team? Is your kid not getting a chance to play? Is the coach trying to pigeonhole them over here? Is the coach taking away the joy? You need to move. Don't be afraid to move, but don't just jump because things aren't going your way. Why are they not going your way? What does your kid say? Do they like where they are? Because you don't know where that's going to go. You may be on a team and their teammate likes them and drags them to the next thing, and they go over there and they form their own Voltron, right? They do their own thing. I don't know where it's going to go, and that's kind of why I wanted to tell you that point, because you will be telling the story differently whether or not it goes well or it doesn't go well. But what success will mean for you, for your kid, is if you really get it right, and we can all agree to this, that they become this good person as they go along doing that, right? That they have great grades, that they are a pillar, other adults, other kids, everybody else goes, that's a great kid. And they're a great athlete. That's right, that athlete and, in fact, I still have my sweatshirt on. It's freezing out here today. So that athlete and, if you get that part right, we can all say if all that other stuff happened and they get it right, that's where the two meet together. And that's what we're trying to accomplish here. But you can do it practically. Do those things. Try to put your kid, pay attention to your kid, see who they are, what they're trying to do. And then as you make your choices, don't overthink it. I keep telling you guys, we ran into this because of a money situation. My daughter could have been on one of the best teams out here in Southern California. We weren't able to do it financially. We get her on another team with some kids that are coming from another area. They barely have any time to practice together. They go and they barnstorm. But because I had her high school coach, who used to be a junior college coach, he kind of gave me some ideas on how to get a kid an athletic scholarship, because he's a junior college basketball coach. He was sending kids to four-year schools all the time. We implemented that for that little side team that we did. It was only 9 girls on that team, and all of them got D1 scholarships. Well, one didn't, but she wasn't going to play sports. But all of them got D1 scholarship, not to the biggest schools. And maybe if we go a different path, they all go to bigger schools. I don't know. Or maybe some of them go to smaller schools. I don't know what's going to happen. But I don't worry about that. As we move through life, you make your choices and you make the best of them. And you'll see little things that give you an opportunity to be more successful with someone else. That's the best I can kind of give to you guys. Stop overthinking this thing. This is your kid. They're playing sports. Pay attention. Make your decisions based on what makes the most sense for your kid, and go with that. And I promise you it will work out in the end, regardless of how you try to manufacture it to be perfect. You don't want perfect. You want them to figure it out, and it will all line up. Only other things I can tell you guys is, as you're going through this journey, make sure you do other things that your kid is interested in along the way, so you can find out. You need to know who your kid is. So when you go and do things, if they're into XYZ, do XYZ while you're doing this. That access as an athlete is the greatest thing in the world. The fact that youth sports is the only way that I know that people from different backgrounds, financial situations, all come together in the same place, and they're going to mix in with each other. And it's also the only place that I know of where somebody with your kid is trying to physically stop them from succeeding. There is nowhere else that is happening. I don't care how smart they are, how many, whatever other little places they go. I'm not saying music and arts and math and science and STEM and all of those are all great things. But nobody is physically trying to prevent you from succeeding, like sports does. And the final thing on that is it's the only place where your kid goes out there and you can't do anything. You can't help them. You can't fix it. It's a moment of truth. It's them against them. And they got to figure it out and make it happen. And when it does, it changes who your kid is. That kind of success changes who your kid is. It may be just a primal thing as a human being, but that is the big difference. And that's why sports is so important. And then finally, if they're good at athletics, it's going to open doors that nobody else gets in. I'm just sorry. One of the things I like to talk about, in fact, I was talking about this with my family. I said, because some of them have younger kids, and I said, what's really interesting to me is we try to push our kids into things that we think is going to make them successful as far as life is concerned, right? To get a good job, go to a good school, get a good job, make some good money, and be able to live a nice, comfortable life. But all the things we tell them not to go into, that's where we spend our money. So don't go into music, right? But we got concert tickets. Don't go into acting, or don't go into athletics, right? Don't try to be a pro player. All of these things that we go take our hard-earned money and we pay for that. Don't become a writer, right? Become a doctor, right? But we got to pay money to go to a doctor. I will say that. But when we buy books, or when we go to see a movie, all the things that we're saying are risky, don't do. We spend our money on that. And that is always stuck in the back of my head. So anyway, so I wanted to kind of get that out. Now, what I'm doing for this one, I'm going to try to put a QR code at the end of this video, but I am giving you guys AthleticSOS. So if your kid is in high school, even junior high, we've got a bunch of junior high school kids using AthleticSOS now. I'm going to give you the version that has, you're trying to recognize the school. So what we do in AthleticSOS is we take your kids' grades, their gender, their SAT, ACT scores that they have them in there, the sport they play, the level they believe they can play at the collegiate level, and we show you a list of schools they academically qualified to attend that have that sport, or offer that sport, or some scholarship that sport. We do junior colleges, we do NAIA, we do NCAA Division 1, 2, and 3, so everything is in there. And so I give that. If you watch any of my videos, you'll see me give you that. But I'm going to give you a different code this time that's also going to give you the academic only piece. There's a little checkbox on there, and then next week I'm going to do a full video showing you and walk you through everything. But that is something I never give away. That's for my partners that I work with. But I'm going to do that it's going to run from December 1st to 11:59 on December 31st, and then it's cut off, right? So if you hit January 1201 on January 1st, that code will not work. I'm going to put that QR code, I think, at the end, but I'm going to give you instructions down in the description so that you can go ahead and use it anyway. And so go ahead and use that. So now it doesn't matter if your kid decides they're not even going to play at the collegiate level. Go ahead and use the software. You're going to see a list of schools now. And what I've done, if you click on that academic only button, you'll see the sports disappear. And you'll be able to do a search also based on their academic information, period, and the area of the country they may be interested in. And I'm going to show you 2-year schools, 4-year schools, and federally accredited trade schools. We use that usually for organizations and high schools that have counselors on. But I'm going to give that to you guys too, so your kid can really make a decision on what they're going to do next. Every kid that walks out of high school now should know what they want to do next. And more importantly is the world just changed, right? I told you guys in 2020, go back and watch my old videos. I said, I don't know what's coming, but the world is about to change. This is the demarcation point. And it took about 5 years. It's 2025, and you can see the results of that. People are getting fired that have really great backgrounds and training. All my friends in tech are scared to death right now. All the people that I know that went to nursing school, they got all this school debt. They were making great salaries, and all of a sudden it's just over. All that middle management from corporate, they don't need them anymore. Technology took off, and it all accelerated, I think, about 10, 15, 20 years because of COVID, and things had to happen really, really quickly. And so people overhired, and now they're getting rid of some of the fat, or we've just overextended ourselves and everything is kind of coming back to a mean. But whatever the reason is, there's a lot of anxiety in the world. And for your kids coming up, they are going to have to be thinking on their feet. They're going to have to figure out who they are. They're going to have to be valuable to somebody outside of a corporate aspect, and you need to start doing that now. And so that's where we're trying to get to. So anyway, so I'm going to put that QR code. I'm going to give you the instructions down below in case I don't put the QR code for some reason. And then come with me next week. I'm going to walk through the software on my screen. You will see it. Mouse will go across the screen. I'll show you how to use the software, what it does, what it doesn't do, and then we'll just go from there. All right, guys, as always, best of luck to you in everything you do. I'm hoping the best. Hope you guys have a great holiday as we move into the Christmas portion of the year. Always a fantastic time. Embrace family. Everybody's going to have to come back together. I really do believe that 2020 on, family is going to be the most important in the next 5 years. You have to have somebody to rely on. The individualism is going to kind of go away in the sense of you can do everything by yourself. You're going to need your group. And then you want to create a group outside of family too. Good people. Make sure your kids are around good people. I don't care what the sport is. I don't care what they're doing. I don't care how great an opportunity this over here is. If there's not a bunch of great people there, avoid it and go in a different direction. All right, that's it. I'm going to get off my soapbox again. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk next week. Be with me next week because I'm actually going to walk through step by step what AthleticSOS looks like, how to sign up, all that kind of stuff, and so you can have a better feel for what you're getting. All right, talk to you guys later.